Today, we're gonna keep it Nurgle as Yo, dog, Kenny Boucher here, Next Level Painting It, hitting you up on the literal best of all days. Here in the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California, I got another painting tutorial for you. Today, we're gonna keep working on the Nurgle Death Guard, the Lord of Contagion. Last week, we worked on his white armor, keeping it Death Guard style instead of the traditional muted greens from G-dubs. Then on Twitch Live, we painted the cape and took it to the next level. And today, we're gonna come back to the axe and we're gonna do some ancient Chinese techniques. We're going to be bringing out Typhus Corrosion, one of the original gangster technicals of Games Workshop. I'm going to show you how easy it is, but more importantly, how fun it is to paint these types of rusts, these types of corruptions on a thematic piece like a Nurgle model that you can get away with going crazy. It's very fun. I love it because, you know, when you're normally painting those Space Marine models, you're having to just hit those crisp edges, make them look super shiny, super clean, but with Nurgle, you can kind of relax. Speaking of which, Twitch is the live tutorials. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Weekly giveaways, monthly reward contests, and more. I wanna shout out a couple of clutch individuals over on my Patreon page. We got my man Joe Darkblade, Xavier, Matthew, Alexander, Keith, William, and Robert. Thank you guys. You came in clutch this week. I cannot do it without you. Thank you. And of course, thelongwar.net is the home of the battle reports and 8th edition coverage. Let's do this thing, guys. Lord of Contagion Volume 2. We've done a lot of work on this, guys. Since the last time you saw him, all we did was the white Nurgle Death Guard effect last time. But we've been on Twitch. We've been doing some live work on Twitch, guys. You do not want to miss it on Tuesdays and Fridays. Now, Typhus Corrosion is up on deck, one of my favorite technical colors in the G-dubs lineup. Haven't used it in a while, so let's make a tutorial about it. We like to use it a little bit differently than GW likes to use it. It's an amazing paint. It has thin coverage, but it has a textured grit to it and a grimy brown color. It's perfect for what we're trying to achieve here. We're using a bigger brush, but with a good point on it. This is the Artisan Shop Minute 7 series. We are going to lay down a nice thick coat. We're dabbing it on rather than streaking it on. We're going to let it build up, dry, and then do it again. Now, GW likes to paint all their stuff metal and then come in all subtly and apply some Typhus Corrosion around the nuts, the bolts, the creases, and get that grime effect. We're going to do the literal opposite of that. While it's drying, we like to stay busy in the Beats Lab, and I just decided to grab a quick black up on deck. Start base coating the grip on this axe. Too easy. Has nothing to do with the axe actually, but I just wanted to show you how I like to stay busy in the Beats Lab. There it is. It's drying. Very moist. And there it is. That's what you get from one coat of Typhus Corrosion. Now here's the quick second coat. It's going to go on even quicker. We're building up even more texture, allowing that grit to do what it do. And it's going to be augmented by the natural rust and divoting of the sculpt of this axe anyway. So that's step 2, guys. I mean, it's that easy. There it is, sealed up, dry. Now it's time to start doing the opposite thing that GW likes to do. So now here we go with P3 formula. This is Privateer Press, one of our sponsors, Pig Iron. We're gonna dry brush this axe. Medium gangsterness, I would say here. We're finding all the creases, all the ridges, all the sharp edges, but we're also just gonna drag it across the flats where all the new texture just showed up because of Typhus Corrosion. Thanks, dog. We're gonna make sure to get in the teeth, all that. Now, this pig iron is a nice dark, muted metal. It's good to combo off of. You don't always want to go to your brightest metal when you're dry brushing over something super dark. You can get in trouble. But here we go. We're doing several coats, several dry brush passes. We're doing the whole thing, going every single direction, and then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to start focusing down on areas we want to have a little bit more brightness to them. Some of the peaks, some of the teeth on those saws, and that amazing Nurgle axe. I fucking love it. It's Nurgle as fuck. Once we get to a place that we like, then we can start comboing off. Now here we go, engine metal. This is a secret weapon formula. This is the new 15. This is kind of it's definitely a brighter metal, but it's also a warm metal. It's an amazing color. My man Justin did his homework over at Secret Weapon Miniatures. We're going to go crazy now. We're going to just start brightening it up, and we're going to combo off of that P3 pig iron. Look at that. But you see, there's a method to the madness. We are bringing our brush off the dry brush paper towel in my lap, and we're letting the bulk of it rest on these points. And then as it starts getting used up on the bristles, we start getting a little bit more aggressive in the flats of the axe. Looking pretty good. I really enjoy this engine metal. Solid stuff here. Love the detail in this axe. This 8th edition Nurgle Death Guard lineup is some of the best Nurgle we've gotten in years, if not the straight up best. This Lord of Contagion is a straight animal, and that axe is looking super Nurgle. All right, one more pass. Let's just make it its brightest, get those ridges looking its best before we go into the rust phase. Another GW dry / technical RZA rust. You know we love that RZA rust. So we're gonna water it down and make a little paste, a little slurry out of it. And we're gonna just start applying it, almost pin washing it around some of these details. It's very thin and it comes out of the pot as a thick mass designed to be dry brushed, but you can dry brush with it or you can turn it into this glaze, this wash. This is a basic juicing effect right now, and it's very thin. And see, it looks super vibrant right now because it's moist. Yes, the second time I said that word. But it's going to dry out, it's going to get muted, and then it's going to allow you to start intensifying, fortifying some of the oranges, decide how bright you want to take it. Now that also can be achieved by applying the RZA rust with less water, but you would have less control. So that's why I like to go in first pass, very thin, kind of wash it into compliance, get the effects I want, get the subtleties, and then I like to come back and then I like to kick it up, make it that super orange. So there it is. This is doing what it do, is drying. Very vibrant, and it's going to retain some of its vibrancy here, but not much. It's totally muted comparatively. Now we're going to go in for round 2. We're going to apply that RZA rust with a little bit less moisture. Almost raw dog out of the pot. We're going to start being very methodical of where we place it, intensifying the center of some of these rust holes. That sounds so dirty. We're going to let it be super bright toward the center points there. We're going to just start randomly picking out spots on the axe. Look, I'm not a scientist. I don't know exactly what rust does, but I do know orange is involved at some point in the rust process, so I'm just kind of guessing. But luckily the sculpt is kind of giving me some areas to just say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna shove some orange in this hole, aka the rust hole. You heard it here first. Feeling it. I think it looks super ridiculous. I think it's an amazing axe, and I think we're getting some very realistic tones out of it that are going to look very interesting against the relief of a very cartoonish / comic book color scheme that we're going for. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Create contrast in more ways than just color, even in effects. One of my favorite things. Feeling pretty good about it. Let's maybe work on it for a few more minutes, make sure it's absolutely where we want it to be. All right, let's do one last pass. Let's totally intensify the orange in those tiny little rust holes, make it look its absolute best before we put it down. It gets varnished and gets doled out. We want it to be super vibrant, almost an 11 here. You guys know the rules. Feeling good about it. I think we can move on, start playing around with some other effects. As you can see, we're getting a pretty good effect here with that realism comboed off that cartoon / comic book effect. All right, engine rust, another secret weapon, new 15. This is an interesting color. It's very realistic. We're going to use it to just create a little bit of transition into rust, to break it up, to make it look possibly more realistic. I don't know, literally don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to rust. I'm just making it up. But I do feel like there might be a transition in here. There might be different stages of decay. So we're going to use a little bit of this engine rust, which is a great color, to augment off of it. Combo, get a couple new patterns. I do like it. It's almost a flesh tone. If you really step back and look at it, it's an amazing color. It can be anything you want, which also shows you, I guess, if you think about it, But there's a lot more colors in Rust than I thought there were. I already like what I'm seeing here. I think we're getting a very fun effect. Total realism. I just love the way it's looking up against the background of that Death Guard white, the greens, the pinks, the magentas. Solid stuff here. So one last pass, because we are coming on as a glaze, super thin, guys. We let it dry, mute out, and we're just doing a couple more passes, very thin, even thinner than before. Create some spotting, some irregular dry patterns, make it look its best. Now here we go, verdigris, pale green. This is the heat right here. That's that oxide. Now, you know, it probably wouldn't exist alongside rust. I don't know how oxide and rust work, but I don't give a fuck. His Nurgle decays. Nurgle can do anything. So we're gonna add a little bit of this verdigris to some of the clutch corners here, creating even more rusty, decaying, oxidation, all of it in one sentence. Absolutely fun stuff here. I never get to use all the colors, let alone on one little axe blade, and also to do it in such an organic way. So much freedom here versus the super clean marine blades that have to get super perfectly transitioned and edged out. This is a dream comparatively. Very low stress, very fun, very hobby. I think that's probably one of the elements of Nurgle that speaks to me and maybe a lot of other people, is that you can be as loose with Nurgle as you want and it fits. Now, obviously, only the axe is that effect here. We were on the edge of our seat painting some of the armor. Digging it. Think he's looking solid. Now, let's go into overtime. Extra innings, guys. I glued him back on, okay? But there's a little bit of a gap in his cape. So I'm going to show you something gangster right now. Plastic putty from Vallejo. This is a water-based putty. I'm going to actually use the paintbrush and just kind of dab it into that huge-ass gap. I mean, it's not a super huge gap, but there's a gap there. One in which I might have done this earlier. But since we broke them up to do all this airbrushing, I didn't notice it until now. So I'm going to actually use a little water with this putty, dab it into that crack, and then kind of feather it out, smooth it out. I'm going to do it all with the brush. Now, this might not be the best solution here. And you see it dried. We threw a little bit of green over it. But for a little gap like this, you absolutely can go on over the paint with it. That is one of the best putties I've ever used, guys. That's a bonus tip right there. Don't forget it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. Play on, players. Find me live. Twitch.